Hello everyone, Margot Levette here, back again to introduce you to another powerful woman. Woman Magazine compiled a list for March of 2021, 25 powerful women to follow for Women's History Month. Today, I want to give you the conversation that I had with the president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. I'm talking about President Virginia Harris. The NCBW, their focus is up on health, education, and economic empowerment. In this conversation, President Harris, she offers some insight concerning what the new Secretary of Education should pay attention to as it's representing all of us, all women in particular. We also take a look at how the NCBW is positioned to handle the polarization that's going on here in America at this time. And I begin to feel very sentimental when President Harris lets me really understand what woman has influenced, has mentored her, and she pays perfect homage to a very special woman. All that and more in my conversation with the president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, President Virginia Harris. Welcome to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. This podcast was created for the boomer woman leaving corporate, and now you're looking to reinvent yourself, become an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. Well, each episode will leave you with clarity. You will come away with the yes, I can and yes, I will reinvent myself mindset. So come on, let's do this. I'm your host, Margot Levette. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Another episode, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Today, I have a very special guest. It's been a couple of years since we had a conversation, but this lady is phenomenal. The president of NCBW, Mrs. President Virginia Harris. Thank you for joining me this morning, Mrs. Harris.
Thank you, Margot. It has been quite some time since we chatted, but I am delighted to be invited back to have a conversation with you about things that are going on at this particular point in time.
Oh, aren't they? The National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. You all keep your finger on the pulse of this political climate. And I remember back in 2019 when your organization was honoring now Senator Warnock. I did a little bit of back work, and I understand that you yet keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on. You all helped get out the vote in 2019, get out the vote in this past election. How do we stay as women? How do we stay current, active? How do we stay seen, heard when we're not in the throes of a political year, when we have to get the election out?
Well, I want you to know that for 39 years, the 100 Black women have been relevant in public policy and advocacy issues. The issues don't go away. The election year have ended, but we must take a few complexity, although we have made great strides during the 2020 election and during the runoff in Georgia. But we must keep our eyes on what's happening across this country, Margot. I don't know if you kept up with the news about all of the voter suppression laws that have gone into place just as of January 2021 that is going to suppress Black people from voting. They are requiring more IDs for absentee ballots. They are closing down places to vote early, and they are requiring much more for anyone to register to vote at this time. However, we know that the pandemic has caused many inequity across the Black communities, healthcare disparities, economic disparities. And so we must make sure that we keep our eyes on the prize and we can't become complacent. We know that there are going to be elections in 2022. So we have to continue to partner with other organizations like Fair Count, Stacey Abrams' organization, the 100 Black Men of America. We work with those organizations to make sure that we got people to understand the power of their vote. And I think that we were all able to see that in November. And I think people are very proud. What we have to do moving forward is we have to work together with other national organizations to make sure that our message is the same across the country. We have got to get angry about people trying to tell us our votes don't count, that they are illegitimate. And we got to show up and vote, no matter how difficult the state capitol legislators try to make it across the country. We got to get angry. We got to show up. We got to vote. And we got to vote in these non-presidential elections so that we don't allow people like the QAnons and the Tea Partiers to continue to win in those off national elections. And they are the ones who's causing most of the problems that we're facing today.
You bring up a very interesting point. Voter suppression laws. They are not just a thought. They are laws. We had better pay attention to what's going on. And you are right. So many times we want to vote for the president. We want to vote for the governor. But what about on that local level where people are gaining a foothold, where seeds are planted on the local level and before they even go to the national level? That's why your organization keeps its finger on the pulse, and you are a barometer. And I'd like to say even a newsletter for those of us. We can't pull back our attention now concerning what's going on with politics.
And you asked the question about how do we keep our hands on the pulse? Well, we have to understand the importance of voting in local election because that's where it starts. The legislation is made at the local level. However, it is just as important that we show up and we vote for the dog catchers in the community. And Black women have been the backbone of the Democratic Party, although the 100 Black Women is a nonpartisan organization. But we still want people to know the importance of showing your voting power and what it means when you show up and vote. We spent a lot of time registering people to vote in 2016, and yet we couldn't get them to the poll. The difference in 2020 is that we were able to work with a lot of other national organizations to get people to the poll. Margot, there are 13 national Black women presidents that formed this unity to work together after the George Floyd incident. And those are the organizations like Sorority, Jack and Jill, the Links. And we have been meeting and working and doing press releases, and we work together to make sure that we got our 5 million women that comprise of these 13 organizations to work across the country to get people to the polls to vote. So that's the one area, and we will continue to do that during this off election in 2022.
That's organization. And then they say women can't work together. Oh, they better take another thought.
Exactly.
Better take another thought. That's powerful. I'm thinking about the fact that Betsy DeVos is gone. What issues must the new Secretary of Education, and I guess at this interview, he hasn't really been positioned yet by President Biden. What issues must be addressed?
I am glad you asked that question because the 100 Black women just issued resolutions in our 61 chapters throughout 27 states asking that they bring civics back into the school curriculum. That is one thing that has been missing. That is why our young people don't understand the power of voting or the legislative issues that are voted on at the local level. And I think that if we could get civics back on the curriculum, it would be a lot easier to get the younger folks to understand the importance of voting. So that is the one area that the 100 Black women is going to be addressing across the country. The other area is STEM. federal funds in schools for STEM program, not just for the Black boys, but for the Black girls as well. And to figure out how we promote the girls to understand that there are careers in the field of STEM that can be beneficial to them as well: science, technology, medicine, and engineering. So we've been very fortunate to get a grant with Apple where we are training young girls how to build apps, how to make them work and how to present them, how to build robots, and how to present those and make those work. So we are very instrumental in making sure that the new Secretary of Education understand the importance of making sure that there is equity across the state for all schools and making sure that we have fundings to make sure that these things are happening.
I love this. Partnered with Apple. So when people think that organizations are just a organization in name or in title only, that certainly is not the case when it's concerning National Coalition of 100 Black Women. Thank you for bringing that up about civics, because I remember as a student way back in high school how it was just interesting. It opened up the door to, how does this government work? What does the mayor do? What does the city council do? People don't know that. We don't even have those discussions the way we should. And you made an interesting point. That's how QAnon and the rest of these thoughts come into power on the local level, and seeds are planted where seeds of our democracy. That's what I learned about. So thank you for spearheading that and making sure, I'm sure that whoever is the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, whoever, is going to have to address that. I'm looking at the turbulent political climate, the division here in America, along with living with this pandemic. How has NCBW repositioned itself in its mission to remain a change maker?
Well, Margot, the NCBW had its genesis in a small group of women meeting in each other's home to form the New York Coalition back in the 60s, when we were going through some very turbulent time during that time. The organization chose this name, 100 Black Women, that day because it was going to make a difference, become a national organization to make sure that we could grow in numbers across the country, that our mission would be to advocate on behalf of Black women and girls to promote leadership development and gender equity in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. NCBW was created to serve as the eyes, the ears, and voice of Black women. We have always strived to be a collected voice for women, exercising a national voice on current issues that impact women. The issues don't go away. The same issues we experienced in the 60s, we're experiencing those today. So it just take on a new complexity. Although we have made great stride over the years, the issues still exist: unemployment, pay inequity, budget cuts for critical programs, subpar housing, health disparities, crime, drug addiction, human trafficking, and the ever-present and more relevant over racism and sexism. We are also constantly looking inward. So at the complexity, poor communication skills, lack of skills, and differences that are displayed in our own community, we focus on mentoring our rising young women as well on the areas health, wellness of our older adults. We stay relevant by staying engaged in what's going on in our communities, our state, and our nation, and our capital.
I understand. I think when I hear you speak, you take a holistic approach. And when you take a holistic approach to being relevant and present, then you are always able to address these complexities. And it's sad to hear you say that the problems don't change. They just take on another complexity, but it's very, very true. And history is revealing all of that right now. So once again, Thank you for leading NCBW and being our eyes and our ears. I'm thinking about the people that influence you, the mentors, the Maya Angelou's, Cicely Tyson's, whoever that person, he or she may be. Will you give us a glimpse into who that person is and why they influence you the way that they do?
Well, it's quite interesting because that person is my mom. My mom's name is Bessie Elizabeth Wright, and she was an educator. And with growing up with only girls in our family, she taught us the importance of being strong-minded, smart women versus being feminine and just relying on someone to take care of us. We needed to grow up to take care of ourselves, that we had to walk in a room and own it. And we had to have a voice. And any opportunity we got to be at a table where decisions were being made on women rights and issue, we needed to be at the table. So we took that on very early in life. I remember my mom, we would ask my mom a question, Margot, and she would say to us, I know you know the answer. So I give you 5 minutes to come back and with your answer to the question you asked me. And she said that this was a mean of teaching us common sense. You know, people said you can't teach common sense. My mother, begged to differ with that. She said we can, and she did. But she was the backbone into making sure that education was our job. It didn't matter about anything else. We had to get a solid education. And we had to start working on that from secondary education, high school, and then on to college. Yes. And she stayed involved in our lives until we actually married and all moved away to start our own family. And she is still living today, 93 years old. And we say she is tough as nails because she still have the power to voice her opinion. And she has never missed voting. And that was very important in our house. I remember she would mail our absentee ballots to us when we were away at college to say, get these back with a pre-stamped envelope to her so she could drop them off. So I would say that she was an advocate all of her life because my father passed away when I was 9 years old and my mother became a displaced homemaker. So she had to make decisions to raise 5 girls on her own to make sure that we were ready to venture out into the world and become leaders.
Oh my, yes, what an influencer right there with you. So few of us have that type of input in our lives. And 93 years old, I'm thinking she saw President Barack Obama be placed in office. So now Senator Warnock, she has seen and heard and experienced so much. And she's passed that on to 5 girls. Yes, kudos to her. Thank you for sharing.
Well, let me just share this with you. Reverend Warnock is my personal pastor. I am a member of the Historical Ebenezer Baptist Church. And as Virginia W. Harris, I worked very hard on his campaign because I felt like he was long overdue for a political office. This man has been an activist for as long as I've known him. And I was thinking about what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. And back in 2018, he and other members were in the Capitol praying on their knees, and they were arrested. A nonviolent activity, but they were arrested because they were all Black ministers. So there is we know that there is a difference in the way Black people are treated versus white. We saw that, the world saw that in January.
Yes. That is noteworthy. And then now Senator Warnock, it was as though I felt I felt something wonderful rising up in me when I heard him cast his vote, whether or not during the impeachment trial. I heard his name and how he voted. And I thought, wow, people of Georgia did that. And I've come to find out, Virginia Harris spearheaded that.
No, not spearheaded, just part of the working team. But he has always had a bold vision for what the future of this country can be and solutions to some of the problems that we're facing currently as communities across this country. So I am so pleased for the committees he's going to be serving on, because that's going to have some impact on communities that we serve, and that is most important to him as well as a United States Senator.
Indeed. I must agree. Respecting your time, I have one final question. Women have contributed to every facet of life: science, technology, law, manufacturing. There is nothing off limits concerning our contributions. Will you close out this conversation with the last word or a quote from reflecting upon a woman's power and her influence, regardless of where she rules, be it in her own home or the boardroom or from Mars? What are your last words?
Well, I'd just like to say our organization is strong and vibrant, and it has been for 39 years. And we are on the front lines of disrupting social injustice and insisting upon health equity as we face an invisible enemy that doesn't understand that we, as Black women, will fight with everything we have to save our families, our children, our communities, and ourselves. And I am proud of the way we pivoted in the middle of a pandemic to find creative and innovative ways to stand against health disparities and income inequity. I am proud of the many corporations who turned a minute and 42 seconds into a movement to right the wrong of systemic racism and sexism that have lasted far too long in institutions where people of color pursue careers and consume goods and services.
True. Vibrant organization, relevant organization, our eyes and our ears, and ready to work with us. We work with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, and we will continue to see some changes. Even though we're dealing with the complexities of problems that don't change, at least something's being done. And we have people dedicated, such as yourself, President Harris, to lead the charge. I expect great things in 2021. I really do. I expect great things. And I thank you for your time. I know that I'm probably a little bit premature, but President Harris is going to be featured in WOM Lead magazine, a women's leadership magazine, and that's the March issue. You want to be sure to be on the lookout for that, because it's time for us to celebrate our leaders. It is time for us to say, we see you, we hear you, honor the work that you've done. And I had no idea that you were such a strong force for Senator Warnock. He is your pastor. And every time I heard him speak, it was as though it were my pastor speaking and getting ready to move into leadership. So I thank you. You are definitely a woman of influence. You are leading the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. Just how do we go to, if a person wants to become a part of the coalition, they go to the website? Where do we go from here?
You can go to our website, www.ncbw.org. You can go under locator of chapters and reach out to a chapter in your area.
Okay, because you are national.
Yes.
I'm Margot Levette. Wonderful opportunity to speak with the President, Virginia Harris of NCBW, National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, doing great things and raising the bar for all of us. As always, it's hard for me to close out these segments, but I must. I'll be back next week, brand new episode right here. Her business, her voice, her conversation. Be sure to wear your mask, wash your hands, because I want you to stay safe. In the meantime, bye-bye now. PodcastAcademyOnline.com, built for the boomer entrepreneur ready to reposition, market, grow their business, and be found globally. Little to no podcasting experience? Well, no problem. PodcastAcademyOnline.com will guide you and launch your podcast in 7 weeks. As you sleep, someone will discover your product, your service. So come, build your podcast at PodcastAcademyOnline.com. Schedule your free consultation today. I want to thank you for listening to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Couple of things that I want you to do right now. Go to my website, pick up a copy of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how I went from game show hopping to international show host, author, and speaker in 1 year. Number 2, please freely listen to each and every episode. Share them out with your family, friends, the men in your lives. And then number 3, get in contact with me, one of the experts that have been on the show, because I want to make sure that you reinvent yourself. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation.